Hello, I am reading out of Eyes of Horus. I'm in part 5, chapter 5, Marriage by PTAH. I had to finish that early because of my battery, so I'm finishing this now. This is a far memory book by Joan Marshall Grants. It plays in Egypt, and the other chapters are on my playlist on my YouTube. She is, Ra-Up is a male, and he's talking to his wife to be Mary here, and her father. They want to get married, but they don't want to be married by the high priest. They want Tet Hen. I wish you wouldn't say things like that, Mary. He sounded more than a little annoyed. Everyone in the royal city has the right to his own thoughts, but not always the right to speak them. Many of us know the temples are corrupt, but that does not mean that they are without power, and a power which, if provoked, is liable to destroy. That will soon change, Mary began, but he broke in. Yes, I know all that. The watchers are going to drive fear out of Egypt, and we are to have a new pharaoh. You find it convenient to forget. There have been conspiracies in the past which failed, and until this one succeeds, I prefer not to know about it. It was very honest of you and Raab not to have kept it all from me. I appreciate your confidence, and in exchange I have done everything possible to show my approval of your marriage. If the watchers come to power, I shall be able to put my barter system into practice. Gosh, it's a long chapter. No, I have read this already. Oh dear. Now I have forgotten where I finished last. So they're talking to her father, and they don't want to be married by the high priest. But don't tell me any more of your plans. I don't wish to know them, though you may rest assured I pray for their success. He shot a keen glance at me from under his heavy eyebrows. Am I right in thinking your plans must wait on the death of Pharaoh? Yes, I said. He is already a dying man, and his heart will be weighed by a higher authority than the eyes of Horus. Mary tells me it is probable the vizier will be chosen. I approve that choice. The royal heir, though perhaps I should not say so while he is still in the royal heir, while he still is the royal heir, has certain qualities which are, shall we say, undesirable in a ruler. I wondered if Ramois had visited the house of the Dark Silence, and if he knew I too had been there. He went on. Prince Menhad is fortunately very unlike his half-brother, but he seems surprisingly irresponsible for a man who has proved himself so well versed in strategy. I never listened to rumors, but it has come to my ears that he has been making himself in a man of lower rank, one might almost say notorious, with a stranger to the city. You may have heard of it, for you and Mary see more of the people who are not so occupied with affairs of the state as I am, and I hear, in my position, it is my duty to hear as much as possible, that this woman is occupying a house near, if not actually next door, to the house of the two winds. If it is true that Prince Menhad contemplates making her the royal wife, the watchers will be fully justified in setting the vizier on the throne. It would be unthinkable for the women of the court to have to make their obeisance to a person of most doubtful origin. I managed not to look at Mary, for I was afraid that if I did, we should both laugh. I said gravely, some say she is Menhad's cousin, the twin sister of the daughter born to his aunt, and often affirm that she was born to a priestess of the temple of the Great Pyramids, through the intervention of Horus. I do not believe it, said Ramois emphatically. When you are as old as I am, you will be weary of accepting such improbable stories. This is hardly a subject to discuss in front of Mary, though by tomorrow what is suitable for her to hear will be your affair, not mine. But I advise you most strongly to look on cases of divine intervention in matters of paternity with the most profound suspicion. The royal house may be a special case, for I think the most skeptical of us are agreed that the earlier pharaohs could claim Horus for more than a spiritual father. But when it comes to ordinary people, even if they do happen to be priestesses, claiming that Min or PTAH or even Horus himself has been so enamored by their beauty as to forget the dignity necessary to godhead, well, I find myself stirred not only to incredulity, but to anger. I will remember, Father, said Mary demurely, and even if Horus should deign to notice me, I will send him away disconsolate, telling him that Ramois will accept only Ra-Up as the sire of his grandchild. It is nothing to joke about, said Ramois severely. I am sure Ra-Up agrees with me that one must never joke about that kind of thing. I must go now. There is a great deal to which I have to attend. The door closed behind him, and Mary and I were free to laugh. Mary, Menhead got back to the city last night, I said a little later. I haven't seen his captain yet, but he told Hanuk that the prince looked 10 years older. He must have loved Kios much more than she realized. And she is so buried in his own, and she is so to be buried in his own tomb, in the new city of the dead, halfway between here and the old capital. He was agreeable to the short embalming and did not wish to see the body when he heard it was already bandaged. Was it difficult to get a body of the right height? No, Jan obtained one without any difficulty. Curiously enough, it was a girl who really had died of snake bite, the daughter of a small farmer. Menad had a Ushapi figure which had been made for his own tomb included in the bandages and the mummy bands, and both the inner and outer sarcophagus are to be sealed with his own cartouche. All the things he gave her are to be buried with him, and the sacred papyrus, which is being put with his own copy of the Book of the Dead, describes her as his royal wife, the keeper of the heart of Menhead, the song of 10,000 bowmen. He is convinced that the cobra which killed her was sent by the royal heir, so now he is doubly resolved to kill his brother. He has vowed to take no wife and to dedicate his life to the conquest of the Babylonians. Poor Kios, we must never tell her that. It would make her so unhappy. I believe she was more than half in love with him, perhaps not in love as we know it. Ra-Up, but though it was of a different quality, that doesn't mean it had no power to wound. I think you're right. She didn't come back to the house of that four acacias the night before he left for the north. And the last time I saw her before she went to the embalmer's, she was putting all his presents to her in a casket to be sent on to him after she had gone. I could see she had been crying, and she said, I'm glad I paid a little of my debt. I wasn't sure what she meant then, but I am now. Do you think she will have a child? No, I'm sure she won't. I told her the woman's secret the first time I saw her. If she had been a real concubine, she would have known it herself, but I found that she didn't. Is that why you haven't been worried? Of course. Didn't you know? Mary, what is the woman's secret? She laughed up at me and then twisted a finger in my hair and pulled me down to kiss her. That's one of the things you will have to be born a woman to discover. It is not called the woman's secret for nothing. The magic might go out of it if any man were told. Would you have thousands and thousands of children born all over Egypt, but just because a man had learned our magic? Think how terrible it would be if women had children when they didn't want them. They would be no better off than ewes that run with a ram. How awful it would be if I came weeping to you and said, "Oh, Rob, I'm going to have a baby, isn't it terrible?" Instead of being able to say, "When shall we have starting a baby?" and being able to decide whether we'd like it born in the winter or the spring or during the inundation. I think the inundation might be the best for our first one. Don't you, Rob? It's hot then, but there isn't much else to do except go about in boats. Are you sure you can't tell me the secret? You said we should never have secrets from each other. I would, Rob, really I would, if it wasn't breaking the oath which every woman has to make when first she's told. It's such a very old secret, far older than the pyramids and much more important. Women must keep the secret. I don't need it, but other women do. It's their one protection against the superior physical strength of men. Woman is honored. It is through the female line that name and property are handed down through the generations, only because she holds the key of life on earth. She will not bear children to a man she thinks unworthy to be their father. Even Ashtek couldn't make Tahu bear him a child. Although he tortured her, he didn't know about the secret. Very, very few women even tell their lovers there is a secret. So he thought the sterility was in his own kin's loins, or else the gods had robbed her of fertility. Can the secret make women have children as well as not have them? No, it can't do that. Some women never have children, even when they want them. I don't quite know why. Perhaps it is because Min has never blessed them, or that Ptah didn't think he'd made them well enough to hand them over to Min. It must be terrible to be born a foreign woman, like Menhad's wife. She bore him 2 daughters in less than a year before the woman who told me the secret told it to her, too. That's why she hasn't had any more. I wonder why the poorest castes have such a lot of children, especially those who are brought here as slaves. They seem to have a child nearly every year. Of course they do, said Mary, surprised. It's only nobles and the skilled castes who know the secret. Otherwise, there mightn't be enough people to work in the fields or build roads and things. Then why do all the women call it women's secret? Had you forgotten that women means you and the poorest field worker? I am very sorry, Rob. I did forget. I was thinking with a small part of me that was made in the royal city, not with my heart or with my spirit. I shall be your wife tomorrow, and then I'll belong entirely to the oryx and never say things like that again. She sat up, looking very purposeful. It has become the prerogative only among rich people and concubines for women to be free of their bodies. No woman can be free unless she holds the secret. She would have to stay virgin or else have a child she didn't want. I shall bring the secret to the oryx, and women shall tell women until there is no more in the land who does not know it by the time she is ready to give up her virginity. To tease her, I said, I have heard that the barbarians decide not to lie together if they do not wish to increase their families. The babies of the barbarians are very terrible. They are always thinking of new ways of making themselves unhappy, which is why they are often so cruel. The habits of the barbarians are very terrible, which is why they are often so cruel. And how wicked of them to be so insulting to Min. Even by the laws of the royal city, the man and women were alone with the priest who symbolized the gods when they made their marriage vows, and so we were able to use the ritual of the watchers. We were married in the little sanctuary which had never been used by anyone save Mary. It was garlanded with stepannotics, and the small altar was the statue of Ptah, for love of whom Neku had given his hand. It was almost as though Ptah spoke to us through the mouth of Tethen. In the name of Ptah, from whom you were the first born to enter the way of the gods, which you shall follow, until with them you are united, my blessing be upon your 2 names, which henceforth are as one. That which was divided has been made whole, and that which was lost has been found. The scales are at peace, and dawn and sunset meet at high noon. Even as the child is born of 2 parents, so shall that peace you have not known alone, that wisdom you have not yet experienced, that power which has not yet found you as its channel, come forth from you at this uniting of your spirit in my name. My voice in your ears, my life in your nostrils, your vision before your eyes, waking and sleeping, at your going forth and at your returning, at the sowing and at the harvest. For when two of my children find the companion of their journey, then may I declare in their new name, I have a son. Go forward together in peace, and remember, always, the Father of whom you were born, who waits for your return into the shining land beyond the sun. Hanuk was waiting for us outside the sanctuary, and beside him stood our sister. I wanted to be the first to share your happiness, Kia said, kissing first Mary and then me. Hanuk said it was quite safe for me to come here, so long as I waited in Mary's room till it was time for me to go down to the boat. Bringing Neku's Ptah here, so the room in which he was set would be part of the oryx, was Hanuk's idea too. Such a beautiful idea, said Mary. We love you both so dearly. Hand in hand we entered the banqueting hall, where the pillars had been twinned with poppies, with ropes of flowers, all of them white, the symbol of attainment. It was empty, for until we had taken our place at the double throne of gilded wood, set on the dais banked by blue lotus, the guests would not enter to bring us our gifts. I took Mary in my arms. You are my wife now, as well as my life. Do you feel the stirring of obedience due from a dutiful woman to her lord? And what laws must the dutiful wife obey? The command never to cease to love her lord. That is very easy. Had you commanded me to cease loving you, I would have had to disobey you, even if you were to beat me for it 20 times a day. No, Rab, you mustn't. Disobedient already. You will have to be kissed then again, even if I am crushing your dress a little. It was a very beautiful dress. Nearly as beautiful as Mary, where it was most transparent. The mist linen was embroidered with many little gold oryx among ears of wheat, and it was bordered with 3 rows of gold thread, which made it stood out like the bell of a flower. Her skin gleamed as though she had been powdered with silver dust, and the buds of her breast might have been carved from pale coral. She wore the oryx necklace, and her burnished hair was bound by a fillet made as a wedding gift by Neku, a delicate tracery of leaves with flowers of pearls. We mustn't keep them waiting any longer, said my wife. The great double doors were flung open for the guests to enter. I don't think either of us expected the vizier to come to our wedding, but he was the first to greet us. In my eyes he was already Pharaoh, and forgetting that his future was known only to the watchers, I nearly made obeisance to him. His gift was a bow case inlaid with barks of many colours, the craftsmanship so skilled that it looked as though it had been painted with a fine brush. To the son of the oryx, he said, who is the most loyal servant of Pharaoh. The most loyal servant of Pharaoh, I repeated. Surely I was right in detecting the emphasis on the final word, meaning that I was his most loyal servant. Had Rodin then already come to a decision? I will stop this here because it is getting a little bit too dark, and I finish it tomorrow. Bye.